So I am here at MotoZ Motorsports in Elma to test ride this, a 0S. Now this should be an interesting experience. I just tried grabbing the clutch there, and there is no clutch. So we're going to put the kickstand up, turn it on, and the bike is on. This is definitely strange. I apologize if the camera is tilted and not level with the ground. No clutch. Oh, this is weird. Okay, so the brakes are pretty nice. That's also probably the regenerative system. And we're good. And I'm trying to shift up. There's no shift lever. Whoa! I'm also trying to rev match. That's not working either. So very quiet. Very weird not having any gears, and also very weird when it's silent when you come to a stop. This is a strange experience. I gotta say, I like it though. This is kind of nice. Really smooth. Just cruising along. Range is, the guy said, at 162 miles per charge. You can see, look at the display there. Whoa, okay, brakes are bitey. Brakes are bitey. Like I said, that's also probably the regenerative braking going in there too. Oh, it even tells you what the RPM is. That's kind of neat. Wow, look at that. 0 RPM. That's weird. $162 miles per charge, so I mean that's, my FZ07 gets about 200 miles per tank, so it's not quite as good, but it's still pretty good, considering when you get to wherever you need to go, you can most likely plug it in, because these just plug into regular wall outlets, which is pretty crazy. In terms of handling, haven't done many corners yet, but it handles just as good as really any naked bike. I mean, no hesitation to go into that corner at all. Acceleration feels good. I'm in eco mode right now. We're going to be going into sport mode pretty soon. I mean, yeah, like that guy's doing up there. I mean, it definitely, it's not hesitant to move around. It's nice and smooth. Completely linear power delivery, which is kind of crazy. And the ergonomics of it too. The seating position, you're pretty much upright, just like a dirt bike or any normal naked bike. Yeah, not used to not having my engine braking. Okay, now we're in sport mode. All right, let's see. Yeehaw! Okay, so if you've ever been to oh, that's smile-inducing. If you've ever been to a amusement park or a theme park where they have a roller coaster that kind of like launches you from a standstill, and then you go and do everything instead of going up the chain lift and going down the hill, it just launches you. It's exactly what this feels like. Woohoo! Well, that's awesome, and you can see down there that it's regenerating when I put on the brakes. So would I get one? I think it depends on what I'd be doing with it. Woohoo! Like if I had to commute more than 40 miles a day, I don't know. I don't know if I would. City riding, I feel this is great. But I don't know, you have no wind protection. It's not exactly a touring bike, so doing a lot of miles, I don't know if I would necessarily want to. But it's definitely like nothing I've ever ridden before. Not having a transmission is really weird, but honestly, I'm kind of already used to it. It doesn't take long to get used to it from going from a normal road bike, and there's no sound. I mean, there's the little tiny little whirling of the motor spinning up, but there's like no sound. This thing is silent, which is weird. Brakes are good. Acceleration's good. Instant torque. It's another nice thing. You can connect this bike to your phone, and then there's an app where when you go into custom, because there's Eco, then there's Sport, which is what I'm in now, and then there's custom. And when you go into custom, you can go into your phone and you can adjust engine braking, torque delivery, regen. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. So you can probably make this thing feel like any bike below, 1,000cc super bike. But I mean, like any naked bike. Like I could probably tune this thing to make it feel like my FZ07. But I mean, it doesn't take any gas. And that's another thing. No oil changes, no oil filters, no spark plugs. Any of that normal maintenance, you got no valve clearance checks, but any of that normal maintenance you do with a motorcycle, you don't have to do with this. All you have to do is change the tires, brakes, and the belt, which is good for like 40,000 miles. The battery on this thing, the guy said that the 11 years they've been making these bikes, they haven't sold a single replacement battery, which is awesome. I mean, I definitely like this a lot. I really do. I just don't know if it's something that I would want to use commuting highway miles. If I was 20 miles, mostly roads like this, absolutely. I would have this, no doubt. But this thing, it handles great. The acceleration's really, really nice. Woohoo! That's just awesome. Yeah, that acceleration is pretty crazy. Man, I do like it. I really do. It's nice and smooth, not vibey, no clunky transmission. That's another thing. This bike would probably be really good for people learning how to ride a motorcycle because, like I said, with that custom mode, you can make this thing feel like a 250 by limiting the torque and limiting the engine braking. And there's no clutch that the person needs to get used to. Now, if they want to branch into normal motorcycles, I mean, yeah, eventually, you're going to need to learn how to use a clutch. But if this is all somebody wants and they want to get into riding, this is great. You just turn the throttle, go, apply the brakes when you want to stop. There is nothing for this left hand and left foot to be doing. And that's really nice for people who want to ride a motorcycle but maybe don't want to think that much when they're doing it. They want to focus on the road around them and more what's going on with their environment and not have to worry about when they're learning, thinking about using a clutch or using a shift lever. And like I said, I'm already used to it. Sometimes I'm still like my instinct is to use my foot to rev match downshift when I let off the throttle. But I mean, I have no issues adjusting to this. And zero emissions, you can't be. I mean, yeah, zero emissions. You still are, making emissions, making electricity, but you're using electricity anyway. And another thing, it's like $1.43 or something to fill up, to charge this, is what they estimate with average electricity prices. And that gets you 160 miles. Everything I'm telling you is what the zero rep has told me. So if this is wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to be wrong, but I'm believing what he says. I would definitely have one of these, but they're 10 grand. And then 16 for the nice, really big ones. So they're not cheap. So if you're looking at this versus like my FZ07, this is, I think the one I'm on right now is 12 or 14 grand, and the FZ07 is like what, 7? So I mean, it's almost double the price. So is it really worth the novelty of having the electric motor? I don't know. You'd have to do a cost to own analysis, and again, the rep told me that it's like after 3 years, the bike the difference pays for itself with all the money you're saving in maintenance and gas and all this other stuff. Hey, wait a second. You're on a different bike. Yeah, sorry, just after the fact I saw a couple of things and thought about some things that I wanted to talk a little bit more on. So sorry if there's one or two weird transitions like this where I jump from bike to bike. So when I was riding the Zero, I said that it would make a good beginner bike except for the price, because it's, you know, $10,000 to $14,000. And I said, you know, you're still saving money with gas and maintenance and everything, but was it really worth it to spend that much more on a beginner bike? But, you know, something I didn't really think about is, I said with the mode, you can make it feel like a 250, and then you can, you know, you can let the bike grow with you. So you can start it off and you can do negative 20% power, and it'll feel like a 125 scooter or a 250, and you can make it feel like a 250 to get you learning. And then as you progress with your skills and your riding skills, you know, you can make the power go up, and then you can get a bike that basically has, I think they said, like 116 foot-pounds of torque, which is insane for, you know, even this bike. This thing makes 50 foot-pounds, and this thing is awesome. So, but the thing that I didn't think about is you pay money to buy a beginner bike. Now, not everybody's going to buy a brand new motorcycle for their first bike. So, I mean, you can spend $2,000 or $3,000 on a used bike, maybe even less, I don't know. But if you buy a new bike for your first motorcycle, because people do that, so if you buy a new bike, you've spent about $5,000. You ride it for a year or two, and now you're going to be trading that in and buying another bike. Let's just say you jump up now to an FZ07. Now you get about $3,000 back for trade-in, and that might even be generous. I don't know. I've never traded in a brand new 250 motorcycle before. So now you get that much back put onto this $7,000. And keep in mind, all these prices I'm saying are not with taxes and dealer fees and all this crap. This is just MSRP. So now this jumps down to, I'm going to say $2,000. So this jumps down now to $5,000. So now you spent $5,000 and $5,000. That's $10,000 you just spent on two motorcycles, and the Zero costs $10,000 to $14,000. So you could have paid that much, or maybe even a little bit more, to get one bike that'll just do everything for you as a beginner rider, as opposed to buying two motorcycles and kind of losing money on a trade-in and all that kind of stuff. So that was one thing that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more on. And the other thing is the whole idea that it can't do highway. It can. It's capable of doing it. It can go 70. It can go like 98 miles an hour, I think. It's just the point of if you will be comfortable doing long highway miles or not. I don't think in that bike's current state you'd be very comfortable doing long stints of highway miles because of lack of wind resistance, much like this bike. But then in other ways, it might be more comfortable, because this thing, to get to 70 miles an hour, I'm at like 5,000 RPM, sometimes closer to 6, and the thing is very buzzy. The electric bike, it really isn't. It's just you're higher up in the RPMs in the motor, but you don't really feel it. It's kind of just, you hear a higher pitched whir, and that's it. So it is totally capable of doing highway trips, but I just don't know if it would be that comfortable. And in terms of the range, I mean, 162 miles, even if you have 40 miles one way, if you can't charge it there, which you can, because you can just plug the thing into a wall outlet. If you can't charge it there, you still can make it home fine. All right, anyway, back to the Zero. Those guys just were on test rides too. So, I mean, it just all depends on what you want. I can't tell you if this bike is right for you. You got to go and ride one for yourself. But if I had city commuting miles, I would definitely own one of these.